General purpose forensics tools versus specialized digital forensics tools. Know the difference? We're going to cover that in this video. Hi, I'm Brian Carey from Cyber Triage and Basics Technology. We recently covered this topic in a blog post on cybertriage.com. I started to use these topics when people asked me how Cyber Triage and Autopsy were different. Autopsy is a general purpose digital forensics tool because it can be used for lots of investigation types as long as the user knows where to look. Cyber Triage is a specialized digital forensics tool and focuses only on intrusion investigations. By being narrowly focused, it can do lots of analytics for you and help you find the evidence faster. This video dives into it more. Let's start with the basics. Digital investigators are tasked with answering a set of investigative questions, and different types of data are needed depending on the question, such as many law enforcement investigations may rely on communications data. Child exploitation cases may rely heavily on videos and pictures, and intrusion cases may focus more on user logins and malware. The role of your software is to give you access to that data so you can view and find the evidence. The tools will often parse file systems, memory, and file formats to allow you to get access to the internal data. They'll provide search and analytical features to help you focus on relevant data first. And they'll give you display options in a generic way, such as hex, or a more detailed view, such as movie playback. To be effective, your tools need to give you access to that data so you can answer those questions you've been set out to answer. The key difference between general purpose and specialized forensics tools is how focused they are on your investigation. Both types can be used for given types of investigations, but the specialized tool is going to do more of the work for you. A general purpose forensics tool will focus on the basics like parsing and displaying data, and they'll rely on you to figure out what kinds of data are relevant to the investigation and what kind of values make it anomalous and suspicious. These tools are designed to help you with nearly every kind of investigation as long as you know where to look. A specialized digital forensics tool is focused on certain kinds of investigations, and they're pre-programmed to answer certain kinds of questions. They'll have the parsing and UI display features, but they'll also have analytics to help focus on the types of data that are relevant for you to bubble them up amongst the thousands of items that are not relevant. Therefore, they'll require less of your work because they're doing some of the analytics for you. The easiest analogy is a Swiss Army knife versus a power tool. Swiss Army knives have knives, scissors, screwdrivers, corkscrews, and much more. You could probably build a house if you have one of the knives with a saw on it, but it's going to take you a while. Your house will be completed much faster if you have specialized saws and drills that were made to build a house. General purpose forensics tools are the most popular category of tools out there, and many of the common tools exist here, such as Magnet Axiom, NK, Celebrite, FTK, and Autopsy. Let's look at some pros and cons of these. On the pro side, they give you basic coverage to nearly all kinds of investigations, and they could be the only option for some kinds of investigations. On the other hand, they require the user to have extensive training on where to look and what they're looking for, and critical data could be missed if the user forgets to look for it. In our tool set, Autopsy is a general purpose tool. It supports a wide range of file systems for computers and mobile devices. If your investigation relies on geo coordinates, there's CAML, GPS, and EXIF modules to pull that data out and map viewers for you. If your investigation relies on web artifacts, there are modules for common browsers and UIs to display that. If it relies on pictures, there's EXIF and object detection and hash set modules for that. The key point, though, is you have to know which modules to enable or disable. Autopsy is used around the world for a variety of investigation types by users who know what they should be looking for their investigative questions. For example, you'll need to review the communications websites to know if they're relevant. There are fewer specialized end-to-end forensics tools. The most obvious ones that comes to mind are Cyber Triage, which collects and analyzes artifacts needed for intrusions. There's Velexity's Surgeon Volcano, which specializes in memory and analysis to answer questions about intrusions. And there's other solutions which focus more on specific investigative questions that are integrated into solutions, such as Project Vic, which focuses on questions around child exploitation cases. There's IOC scanners that answer questions about known indicators of compromise, but not necessarily new variants of intrusion investigations. And there's a bunch of incident response collection tools that are specialized on the collection part of an investigation and focused on intrusion questions, but they don't do the analysis. They're just going to give you some artifacts to start looking at, and it's up to you to go through and figure out which ones are suspicious and anomalous. Now, I think most of these tools are focused on intrusions because these kinds of cases have the most complexity and the biggest scale. Intrusion investigations can impact dozens or hundreds of computers, and attackers are constantly changing their techniques to evade detection. This makes automation and specialization critical. Let's look at the pros and cons. So the pros of a specialized tool is their speed. You can more quickly focus on the relevant data because the software is doing the analytics without user intervention. Second is the comprehensiveness. You can collect and process more data because the computer is doing the analysis, often in parallel, and can be updated to know where to collect and how to analyze data from. Now, there's always cons. Downside of specialized tools is they may not work for all your investigation types. Consultants and law enforcement have to deal with a wide variety of investigation types, and those specialized tools may not be available for a new kind of investigation for you or something you do rarely on the side. So in our tool set, Cyber Triage is a specialized digital forensics tool. It collects only artifacts and files that are likely to be relevant as part of the intrusion, and then it scores and analyzes those artifacts to identify the ones that are likely relevant. The ones that are scored as bad or suspicious are more likely to be involved with an intrusion, and the user can start there instead of tens of thousands of artifacts that probably aren't relevant. For most of our users, Cyber Triage will shave off hours of their investigation and allow them more quickly focus on the artifacts that are relevant. But as we pointed out, Cyber Triage is not going to be useful for all kinds of investigations. If you're doing child exploitation or some other kind of traditional communications or other kind of case, right? Cyber Triage is not going to focus on that. It's focused on user accounts and lateral movement and malware on a system. So what should be in your toolkit? Unless you're on a team with a single mission, such as if you're in a security operations center, then you should probably have a combination of general purpose and specialized tools. For example, a general purpose forensics tool focused on computers and laptops, maybe a general purpose tool for cell phones, and then specialized tools for the investigations that you do most commonly and are most time consuming, such as intrusions. As data sets are becoming bigger, investigations rely on access to more kinds of data, the need for specialized tools and automation becomes critical and much more obvious, especially when you consider the complicated data types associated with intrusions. So, to get back to our original question, the main difference between Autopsy and Cyber Triage is that Autopsy is a general purpose tool and Cyber Triage is a specialized tool focused on intrusion. Both serve critical roles in the examiner's toolbox. Thanks.